Welcome to our practice questions and answers session for the CompTIA Cloud Plus CV0-001 certification exam. In this video, we'll be going through a series of carefully curated practice questions that covers the key domains of the CV001 exam. This includes cloud architecture, deployment, operations, security, and troubleshooting. In this video, we'll be going through each of the questions because they'll be having a detailed explanation that will help you to understand the concepts, and it will make you confident enough to tackle similar questions on the actual exam. Note that practicing with real-world scenarios and challenging questions is one of the best ways to solidify your understanding and identify any areas where you might need further study. Our goal in this video is to help you feel fully prepared and confident when you sit for the Cloud Plus certification exam. So without wasting much time, let's dive right into the questions. Question 1. John is asked to run an instance of a Linux OS while booted up in a Windows OS. Which of the following types of virtualization will be used to meet this requirement? A. Type 1. B. Type 2. C. Bare metal. D. Native. For the Type 1 virtualization, this runs directly on the host hardware without the need for a host operating system. It is often referred to as the bare metal virtualization, and it is used in server environments like the Microsoft Hyper-V server on the VMware ESXi. It does not require another operating system like Windows to run Linux as a guest. For the Type 2 virtualization, this is known as a hosted virtualization, and it runs on top of a host operating system. The bare metal for option C is just another term for the Type 1 virtualization in option A. So in this type of virtualization, the hypervisor runs directly on the hardware without a host operating system. Option D, native, it doesn't directly relate to virtualization types, but it refers to running software directly on the underlying hardware or natively within an operating system without virtualization. So with an explanation of these options, the best option to go with is option B, the Type 2. A hypervisor software like the VMware Workstation is installed on the host OS, and then the Linux OS can be run as a guest VM within this hypervisor environment. The host operating system manages the hardware resources and provides services to the guest's VMs. Question 2. Which of the following should an administrator implement when connecting the company's existing network to a public cloud environment to ensure confidentiality of data that is being transmitted? A. An IPsec tunnel. B. A load balancing solution. C. A proxy server. D. A server clustering solution. An IPsec tunnel in option A is a protocol suite for securing Internet Protocol communications by authenticating and encrypting each IP packet of a communication session. A load balancing solution, on the other hand, distributes network traffic across multiple servers in order to improve reliability and performance. A proxy server acts as an intermediary between clients and servers, and it is often used to improve performance and monitor requests. While a server clustering solution, it involves connecting multiple servers to work together as a single system in order to improve availability and reliability. So, with respect to the scenario we have here, where an administrator wants to connect a company's existing network to a public cloud environment while ensuring confidentiality of data, it is best to use an IPsec tunnel. When connecting the company's existing network to the public cloud environment, ensuring that the confidentiality of data being transmitted is crucial. The IPsec tunnel provides a secure way that they can encrypt and protect the data as it travels over the internet. So it creates a secure encrypted connection between the two endpoints, like the company's network and the public cloud, and by doing so, it ensures that the data remains confidential and protected from unauthorized access during transmission. So we have it there. Option A is the best answer. Question 3. A network administrator creates a DNS-A record. Which of the following tools can identify which IP has been assigned to a FQDN? A. ARP. B. ipconfig. C. NSLOOKUP. D. tracer-T. An ARP or Address Resolution Protocol is used to map IP addresses to MAC addresses on a local network, but it doesn't provide information about the DNS records or the FQDN to IP mappings. ipconfig is just used to display the IP configuration details of a system, like the IP address, default gateway, and subnet mask, but it does not query DNS records. NSLOOKUP is a CLI tool that is used to query DNS servers and retrieve DNS records, while the tracer-T or traceroute is used to trace the paths that packets take from the local system to a specified destination IP address. So with respect to the question we have here, the best tool to use to identify which IP has been assigned to an FQDN will be option C, the NSLOOKUP. By using the NSLOOKUP followed by the FQDN, you'll be able to obtain the corresponding IP address that is currently being assigned to a domain name. Question 4. Which of the following should be installed on VMs to report and take action against potential threats? A. HIPS. B. NIDS. C. NIPS. D. HIDS. Option A, the HIPS or Host-Based Intrusion Prevention System, monitors and analyzes the internal activity and state of a host system. Option B, NIDS or Network Intrusion Detection System, monitors the network traffic for suspicious activity. Option C, Network Intrusion Prevention System, it is similar to the NIDS, but it includes the ability to take action to prevent the detected threats at the network level, while the HIDS or Host-Based Intrusion Detection System monitors and analyzes the internal activity and state of a host system. So for this, we'll be going with option A. Remember the question asked, what can take action against the potential threats that has been found on the DM? So that will be the Host-Based Intrusion Prevention System, option A. It can detect and respond to suspicious activities on the host system. It does this by taking actions like terminating processes, alerting the administrators, or even blocking the network connections. Question 5. Which of the following is most important when factoring network-level security in a public cloud environment? A. Ensuring good user experience. B. Ensuring confidentiality. C. Ensuring redundancy. D. Ensuring high availability. Ensuring good user experience involves providing a fast and responsive service to users. It is important for the overall service satisfaction, but it is not related to security as we have in question here. Ensuring confidentiality is related to security because it ensures that only the authorized users can have access to the environment. Ensuring redundancy involves having backup systems to ensure service continuity in times of failures, but it doesn't really relate to the network level security like we have in the question. Ensuring high availability ensures that the service remains accessible for as much as possible by minimizing disruptions and downtime. Now, this is essential for reliability, but it does not address the confidentiality or integrity of data being transmitted. So, with respect to the question asked here, option B is the best option. Confidentiality ensures that the sensitive data is protected from unauthorized access and disclosure, and this directly impacts the security of the data, and it is a critical aspect of network level security. Question 6. Although the SAN appears to be running without any problems, the technician is unable to reach the SAN's web-enabled management interface. Which of the following tools can the technician use to quickly find where the communication failure occurred? A. ARP. B. Traceroute. C. Ping. D. ipconfig. The ARP resolves IP addresses to MAC addresses. Trace routes is used to trace the routes that a packet takes from the local host to the remote destination. Ping is used to test the reachability of a host on an IP network, while ipconfig just displays the IP configuration information of the network interfaces on a local system. With respect to the question we have here, the tool that the technician can use to quickly find where the communication failure has occurred will be option C, the ping utility. By sending an ICMP echo request to the IP address associated with the SAN's management interface, the technician can quickly determine if there is connectivity between their workstation and the SAN. So if the ping is successful, it indicates that there is network connectivity up to that point. But if the ping fails, it suggests that a network connectivity issue has occurred or a configuration problem. Question 7. An administrator is creating a new VM template and has a requirement that the OS must be hardened. Which of the following should be performed to harden a guest OS? A. Encrypt the hardware. B. Run the frag. C. Rename administrator accounts. D. Change page file. Encrypting the hard drive is important for protecting data at rest from unauthorized access, especially if the physical drive has been compromised. However, it is not directly related to hardening the operating system itself. Running defrag or defragmentation improves this performance by reorganizing the fragmented data, but it does not contribute to the security or hardening of the operating system. Renaming the default administrator accounts is a security practice because it will make it more difficult for attackers to guess the username, and by so doing, it reduces the risk of unauthorized access. Changing the page file in option D, it can optimize the system performance, but it does not directly impact the security of the operating system. So for this, we'll be going with option C. Hardening an OS involves implementing various security measures to protect against vulnerabilities and attacks. So by renaming the administrator accounts, it hardens the guest OS because it will make it more difficult for attackers to guess the username, and by so doing, it will reduce the risk of unauthorized access. Question 8. A company has decided to reduce their data center size. An administrator for the company has been tasked to virtualize many of the company's servers. Which of the following should the administrator perform to accomplish this goal? A. P2V. B. P2P. C. V2P. D. V2V. P2V stands for physical to virtual, and it is a process of converting a physical server into a virtual machine. P2P is physical to physical, and it involves migrating one physical server to another physical server. V2P, virtual to physical, involves migrating a virtual machine back to a physical server, while the V2V, virtual to virtual, involves migrating or cloning one virtual machine to another virtual machine. With respect to the question here, where the administrator has to virtualize many of the company's servers, so the company servers are physical servers and the admin wants to move them to virtual servers. So the obvious answer here will be option A. By converting a physical server into a virtual server, the company is able to run multiple virtualized servers on a single physical host, and this reduces the number of physical servers and the overall data center footprint. Question 9. An administrator needs to provide internet access to all internal systems using a single IP address. Which of the following should the administrator implement? A. NAT. B. PAT. C. VLAN tagging. D. Virtual switching. NAT, or Network Address Translation, refers to the process of modifying a network address information in IP packet headers when they are in transit. It is the overall technology that enables the use of a single IP address for multiple devices. PAT, on the other hand, is a type of network address translation but in this case, it allows multiple devices on a local network to be mapped to a single IP address, but with different port numbers for each session. VLAN tagging is used to identify and manage different virtual LANs on a network, and it helps to segregate network traffic, while virtual switching is related to managing network traffic between virtual machines on the same physical host. With respect to this question, where an administrator needs to provide internet access to all the internal systems using a single IP address, the best option would be option B, using PAT. PAT is sometimes referred to NAT overload because it is commonly used for sharing a single public IP address among multiple internal devices. Remember that these internal devices will have different port numbers for each session. However, they are mapped to a single public IP address. Question 10. In which of the following cloud services will the customer be responsible for securing provisioned hosts? A. PaaS, B. SaaS, C. IaaS, D. DaaS. PaaS, or Platform as a Service. In this model, the cloud provider manages the infrastructure and platform, while the customer is responsible for managing and securing the applications deployed on the platform. SaaS, or Software as a Service. In this model, the cloud provider manages everything from the infrastructure to the platform, and the customer is only responsible for configuring the application to their needs and managing their user access. IaaS, or Infrastructure as a Service. In this, the cloud provider supplies the basic infrastructure components like the virtual machines, storage, and networking. The customer, however, is responsible for managing and securing the operating system, the applications, the data on the provision host, and so on. The customer is also responsible for patching the OS, managing firewalls, and securing the application. DaaS, or Desktop as a Service, is a model where the cloud provider offers virtual desktop. With respect to the question where the customer will be responsible for securing the provision host, the answer would be option C, Infrastructure as a Service. So in this model, the cloud provider only provides the basic infrastructure. So the cloud provider provides the virtual machine, networking, and storage, while the customer is responsible for all other aspects of the service. I've put up a diagram showing the different responsibilities for both the customer and the cloud provider. So we see that in Infrastructure as a Service, the customer is responsible for most of the services, while the cloud provider is only responsible for the virtual machine, whether physical or virtual, the storage, as well as the networking. For Platform as a Service, the cloud provider manages the infrastructure and platform, while the customer is responsible for managing the applications that they deploy on the platform. Software as a Service, in this model, the cloud service provider has more responsibility, while the customer is only responsible for configuring the application to their needs and managing their user access. Question 11. Which of the following should an administrator perform to harden a VM that has been provisioned in a public cloud environment before deploying the system? A. Defrag system. B. Update drivers. C. Disable firewall. D. Patch system. Defragging a system can improve the disk performance, but it does not enhance the security of the VM. Updating drivers can help with hardware compatibility and performance, but it does not contribute to the hardening of the VM. Disabling firewall is totally contrary to hardening the system because a firewall is a critical security component that protects the VM from unauthorized access. Patching the system, on the other hand, involves applying the latest security updates and patches to the operating system. So, we'll begin with option D. Patching the system is crucial for protecting the VM from known vulnerabilities and security threats, and regular patching is a fundamental part of system hardening. Question 12. Which of the following can be used to encrypt data at rest on a VM located in the cloud? A. AES, B. SSL, C. TLS, D. VPN. AES, or Advanced Encryption Standard, is a widely used encryption standard that provides strong security for data at rest. SSL is used to secure data in transit over a network, but it does not encrypt data at rest. TLS is a successor of the SSL, and it secures data in transit because it provides encryption between the client and the service over the network, but it does not encrypt data at rest. VPN encrypts data in transit over a network, but it does not encrypt data at rest. So the best option to go with here is option A, the Advanced Encryption Standard. It is used to encrypt data at rest because it ensures that all the files are encrypted, the database is encrypted, as well as the entire disk volume on a VM. So it ensures that the data remains protected even if the underlying storage is accessed by the unauthorized users. The files are encrypted, so the unauthorized users will be unable to read the files or even view the contents of the database. Question 13. Which of the following cloud delivery models presents the least vulnerabilities to a company's existing network? A. Hybrid, B. Community, C. Public, D. Private. A hybrid cloud integrates private and public cloud environments, and it allows data and applications to be shared between them. While the hybrid cloud offers scalability and flexibility, it also has its own complexities in security management due to the integration of different environments. So it's not the best answer here. Checking on community cloud, this is a kind of cloud or environment that is shared by several organizations with the same shared concerns. It offers some level of security, but it also has its own vulnerabilities if it is not properly managed due to the shared infrastructure. Public cloud is an environment where the infrastructure is shared among multiple organizations. Now, because of the way it is used, the shared nature of the environment can expose organizations to security risks. A private cloud, on the other hand, is dedicated solely to one organization, and it is usually located on premises or it is hosted by a third-party provider. In this case, it offers the highest level of control because it is isolated from other organizations. So the best option here for a model that provides the least vulnerability would be option D, the private cloud. Access to the private cloud is highly restricted and it is tightly controlled, so it reduces the exposure to vulnerabilities compared to the other deployment models. Question 14. Which of the following is an example of two-factor authentication when accessing a virtual server? A. Multiple usernames or passwords for all websites. Option B. Username, password, fingerprint scanner, and key fob. C. Username, password, and PIN. D. Username, password, and fingerprints. Now remember that there are three factors for authentication. The first is something you know, such as a password, username, a phrase. The second is something you have, such as the key fob or a badge. The third is something you are, which is the biometric parts like the fingerprints and iris scan. For a two-factor authentication, it has to be a combination of two factors. So it can be something you know or something you have. In this, we'll be going with option C, and I will explain why. The username password is the first factor, which is something the user knows, and the PIN is the second factor, which adds an additional layer of security because it requires a numeric code known only to the user. A combination of the both of them constitutes a two-factor authentication, and this approach ensures that access to the virtual server requires both knowledge of its secrets, in this case a password, and the possession of a second factor, which is a PIN. For the other options, multiple username and password for all websites, it refers to using different credentials for different websites, but it does not constitute a two-factor authentication. The option B, which is username, password, fingerprint scanner, and key fob, it involves three factors: something you know, something you are, something you have, but it exceeds the requirements we have in this question. The requirement is a two-factor authentication. Option D, which is username, password, and fingerprint, while it involves two factors, which is something you know and something you are, it is also a form of two-factor authentication. But remember, reading the question specifically asks for an example involving a PIN, and in this case, it is not present in this question. So that's why we're going with option C. Question 15. Which of the following would be used to prove the existence of vulnerabilities on a network? A. Penetration testing. B. Vulnerability assessment. C. Business impact analysis. D. Risk assessment. Penetration testing involves simulating real-world attacks to identify and exploit vulnerabilities, but it is done in a controlled manner. Vulnerability assessment involves scanning the network for known vulnerabilities. Business impact analysis assesses and evaluates the potential effects of disruptions to business operations, while risk assessment evaluates the potential risk and threats to an organization's assets, including vulnerabilities, and assessing the likelihood and impact of this risk. With respect to the question we have, the action that will prove the existence of vulnerabilities on a network will be option B, vulnerability assessments. So this involves scanning the network for known vulnerabilities, so it can identify the weaknesses in the network infrastructure, application, and system that could be exploited by attackers. The assessments will now provide a detailed report on the vulnerabilities discovered, their severity levels, and the recommendations for remediation. So it specifically aims to identify and document the existence of vulnerabilities on the network. Question 16. A server has two power supplies such that when the first one fails, the second one automatically is used to provide power to the server. This type of setup is an example of which of the following? A. Latency. B. Redundancy. C. Replication. D. Failback. Latency is the delay between the initiation of a process and its completion. It is not related to the described power supply setup we have in the scenario here. Redundancy is the duplication of critical components within a system to provide a fault tolerance. Replication involves creating and maintaining copies of data to ensure availability and data integrity, while failback is the process of restoring operations to their original state after a failure or outage has been resolved. With respect to the question we have here, such that where one power supply fails, it automatically switches over to the second one. That will be an example of option B, redundancy. So, in this case, if one power supply fails, the redundant power takes over seamlessly and it ensures uninterrupted operation of the server. This is a key principle in designing resilient systems in order to manage and minimize downtime and ensure reliability. Question 17. Which of the following allows a network device to process storage traffic without significant delays, even if the amount of other network traffic has saturated the link? A. Caching. B. Jumbo frames. C. Load balancing. D. QoS. Caching involves storing frequently accessed data closer to the requesting user, thereby reducing the need to retrieve it from the original source. It can improve performance for repeated accesses, but it does not address the network congestion caused by the other types of traffic. Jumbo frames allows for larger Ethernet frames, and this can reduce overhead and improve efficiency. However, it does not solve the problem of prioritizing storage traffic over other network traffic, especially when the link is saturated. Load balancing distributes network traffic across multiple paths to optimize resource utilization and prevent congestion on any single link. Now, while this can help to distribute traffic, it does not prioritize one traffic over the other. QoS, or quality of service, allows network administrators to prioritize certain types of network traffic over the others. So with respect to the question we have here, we'll be going with option D. By configuring the quality of service policies, storage traffic, which is usually time sensitive, can be given a higher priority over other types of traffic like email or web browsing. By doing this, it will ensure that the storage traffic receives sufficient bandwidth and minimal delay, even when the link is congested with other traffic. Question 19. A technician would like to connect to a virtual server from inside the network using a desktop computer. Which of the following tools could the technician use? A. HTTP, B. RDP, C. IMAP, D. SSL. For this scenario, the tool that the technician would be able to use to connect to a desktop computer from within the network would be option B, the RDP or Remote Desktop Protocol. RDP is a protocol that was developed by Microsoft that allows a user to connect to and control another computer over a network. It is used to remotely access and manage servers and as well as desktop. In this case, the technician can use the Remote Desktop Protocol to connect from their desktop computer to the virtual server within the network. The other options are just protocols. The other options, so for HTTP, this is used for transferring and accessing web pages. It is not used for remote connection. IMAP is a protocol used for accessing and retrieving email messages, but it is not used for a remote connection. SSL is used to secure communication over a computer network. It is used to encrypt data, but it is not used for remote connection. So that's why we're going with option B, the RDP. Question 20. Which of the following cloud services provides billing, payroll, contracts management, and human resource management functions? A. CAAS, B. SaaS, C. BPaaS, D. DaaS. The CAAS, or Communication as a Service, is a cloud-based communication services like the instant messaging or voice over IP. It does not address business processes like billings or payroll, so that's not the correct option. SaaS, or Software as a Service, delivers software applications over the internet. It allows users to access and use software without managing the underlying infrastructure. BPaaS, or Business Process as a Service, is a cloud service model that delivers business process outsourcing services through a cloud-based platform. It can cover various business functions like billings, payroll, and contracts management, while Desktop as a Service, or DaaS, provides a virtual desktop infrastructure delivered through the cloud. So with respect to this question, we'll be going with option C, the BPaaS solution. It is designed to provide services like payroll, billing, contracts management, and human resource management functions effectively, and it leverages cloud technologies to offer scalability, flexibility, and cost effectiveness. This brings us to the end of the video on practice questions for the CompTIA Cloud plus CV0-001. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and also hit the notification bell for when our next video will be dropping. In our next video, we'll be looking at the CV0-002 practice questions and answers. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.